Welcome to the Killshot MMA podcast. We're talking DraftKings for UFC Vegas 94, Lemos versus Jandiroba, the main event we've all been waiting for. All serious though, good to have a card this week. Also, really interesting from a DraftKings perspective. This is not a typical cookie cutter type of slate. We're going to break it all down, smash the like button, get more insight over at DFS Army. Links down below to join up. I'm Sniper. Next to me is Monk. Down below is the man, the myth, the legend, the founder of DFS Army Geek, who I will always shout out. Guys, we have a quite the card to attack here. I think the highlight, Monk, is that have you ever seen, because of how DraftKings staggers salaries, we got guys at minus 150 who cost almost 9K. It's a little weird.
Get that mic on, Monk.
Yeah, you're off. You're muted.
Of course. I had the week off and now I forgot how to do everything. Yeah, it's wild. The widest line is I think Maverick at like minus 220, so it's going to be some very interesting spots. I think a couple lines have flipped. There's some inherent value to be had as well, or at least theoretically.
I think we're another card where salaries will not matter at all. There's no safety.
Yes.
You cannot pay up for a win on this card and lock it in. I don't see any favorite that is locked in to winning their fight, especially not the biggest favorite on the card. So to me, this is one of those cards, salaries don't matter. You're going to have to guess right on the fighters that win and score a lot. And it's going to probably be difficult to get a 6 out of 6 with 6 winners just because of how close these fights are all lined.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. I think it's enough foreplay this week. You know what I didn't test is going to look a little shitty here. Let's go. Let's pull up the full screen. I didn't work out the full screen shit before we started. Amateur operation. See what I'm talking about, Monk? It happens to all of us.
Yes, it does.
I get the screen share going. That's not exactly the view I'm looking for. A little bit of stalling. Now I got to get to the right fight, and now we're ready to go. With the main event, Amanda Lemos taking on Virna Jandiroba. Virna is the favorite now at minus 135 on DraftKings. The comeback on Lemos is plus 114. Your DraftKings salary right now, Virna is 8,500. Lemos is 7,700. Geek, we got an interesting one to attack on for DFS, and one that I think is highly subject to the rest of this card. If there weren't these other 11 fights on this card, we would treat this fight way differently than we're about to. And I think that's an important disclaimer when we're doing this fight first.
I do think we're based on the rest of the card. This doesn't necessarily strike me as the type of card where we're going to get a lot of monster scores and it's going to be easy to find them. So I'm personally leaning that this main event does need a lot of exposure, with the caveat that neither of these women are really great at doing a lot of points per minute style scoring. And so there's that risk, right? But I do think for the most part, because it's so hard to pick winners on a card like this, everybody's minus 130, plus 110, that you're going to want to stack this, get the 5 rounds of action. And this fight is really interesting because Virna, she's a bit of a grappler. She's doing more of it lately in her career. And Lemos's big sort of, I'll call it her weakness, has been her takedown defense, 57% career. When she loses, it's usually because she's being controlled via takedowns and she gets submitted. So that is how I think this one will play out, except, Virna is the better, more aggressive grappler. She should be getting the takedowns early, and I think she will have success doing it. Neither of these women have a ton of striking volume. Virna's only putting out 2 strikes per minute. Lemos 3.5. My concern, though, is if Virna doesn't get the finish in the first couple of rounds, she has never been one that seems to have enough cardio to go even 3 rounds, forget about 5. So I think the later this fight goes, the more it leans over to Lemos. Virna winning early, Lemos kind of taking it home late. That actually spells a pretty good DK score potentially, Sniper.
Yeah, I'm on the Virna side as a pick just because of the upside in grappling. It's also worth submission defense is not good. She got standing arm triangled by someone who was, I don't know, a full foot shorter than her, it seems like, in Jessica Andrade. Now, a solid 3-4 inches standing triangle. She can be taken down. She can be submitted. That's all Virna wants to do in a fight anyway. It is worth noting that Lemos, if she wins, she's probably going to knock Virna out. Her hands are way better. She hits like a truck at this weight class. There's upside on both sides. And because of the card, it's a high exposure fight. On any other card, if it was a 3-round fight, it would be like medium GPP exposure, pick a side you think is going to win, and don't play it in cash. But because we get 5 rounds here, and this card's a shit show, you can make a case for either side in cash. You can make a case for the stack in cash games. It really comes down to how confident you are everywhere else. And for me, the straight up pick, I usually do, and in this case is not a difference. I'm favoring the grappler in Virna in this one. Monk, who you got?
Yeah, I think I am too. I'm going to go with Virna. I'm definitely not confident. I don't mind the stack either. Interesting to note, though, I always think Lemos is so much taller than she is. There's only an inch height difference according to UFC stats, so there could actually be, Virna could be 4'8" for all we know. Who knows? Well, I guess we'll find out at face-offs. She's also a year older. Lemos is 1 year older than Jandiroba at 37 years old. Yeah, I like Virna here. She's gone to decision a ton of times. Out controlling her opponent in almost every fight, landing takedowns. So the striking's not there. It's a pretty, as I hate saying this, but binary fight. We have grappler versus striker. Anytime the fight's standing, Lemos has a huge advantage. Anytime it's not, she doesn't. And Lemos, let's see, in her last 5-round fight, if you can remember it, because she gave up 190 points to Zhang Wei Li, she scored 0.46 points a minute. And I know you're thinking, well, this is against the best women's strawweight in the world. Yeah, but she was taken down and out-controlled in that fight. That's basically what happened there. I mean, she got a shitload of strikes landed on her. But my point is, if Virna can do the same thing to Lemos, the opportunity is absolutely there for some good points. Virna's no Zhang Wei Li, but the grappling should definitely be better. So I'm barely fading Jandiroba. This is an insane card for cash. I'm going to be mostly GPPs this week, but I guess I don't mind the stack, especially because of the salaries.
Yeah, just totally agree. Again, it really comes down to, for me, this fight. I know Virna is going to be dominating this fight early. It's just, will she gas and win? She's just, the gas tank is not as good. So I kind of think that maybe later in this fight, round 3, 4, 5, Virna's a little gas. She can't get the takedown anymore, but maybe she can. So that's really the mystery. We're going to see how it goes, but that's why the fight is closely lined, because any other reason, if this was a 3-rounder, I think actually Virna should be favored like minus 220. Like, she'd be heavier favorite if it was a 3-rounder.
Lemos hits pretty hard, but yeah, I get it. I can't really fight on that too hard. All right, let's go to the co-main event. Brad, I've been around forever. Tavares taking on the Iron Turtle, Jun Young Park. Line on this one right now. Park is minus 162 on DraftKings. Tavares is plus 136. Your DraftKings salary, Jung Young Park. He said he was minus 162, right? Yeah, he's going to cost you $9,000 on DraftKings, because this week everybody's bunched between minus 110 and minus 160, and you get to pay that. So, Monk, what are the stats here on a minus 160 fighter fighting at $9,000 for our DraftKings salaries?
Well, normally, I mean, that's a terrible proposition for sure. And then you throw Brad Tavares in the mix, and it's like, well, shit, I know I only want to play one side of this fight. And unfortunately, it's the guy that costs $9,000. Brad Tavares, I mean, as you know or may not know, one of the statistically worst DraftKings players in the entire promotion. He averages 70.7 points per win. When he loses, he does give up 100, so that does help my Jun Young Park argument at 9K. Also, Turtle is averaging 3/100ths of a point under 100 points per win. So he's the one that does all the scoring. Dude, Tavares is averaging 2.2 points per minute over 24 UFC fights, and most of those have gone 15 minutes. So there is zero scoring. He's the middleweight Derek Lewis for the most part, without the huge round 1 upside. So what are we really doing here? I'm only interested in Park. It is plus 155 to go to decision. Hopefully we can keep that Park number at 3.8 points a minute. If we see that, I think 9K is all right. You're probably not finishing Brad Tavares. He's extremely durable, but he also doesn't do anything offensively. So I'm fading Tavares, and I'm playing some of Park.
Yeah, it's minus
You did get that
155
one
by the way.
backwards. It's minus 190 to go the distance.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep. Minus
So it is
210.
it's worse. It's worse than you thought, Monk. And it's
yeah.
minus
Okay, then,
190
there you go.
to go to decision. Listen, this
Wow,
is a
that must
fight.
have moved a ton.
Yeah, this is not a let me say if it moved, but this is not a fight where you're going to score well with the winner. It's a disaster. Tavares is good at one thing, stopping takedowns, kind of slowing down a fight. Jun Park is probably going to land 5 strikes per minute like he normally does. Brad was going to land like 2 or 3. Park will outvolume him, and Park will win a decision where he lands 75 significant strikes and scores, I don't know, 70 for 9K. That's what I think.
Been KO'd in 2 of his last.
That's what I was gonna say. The wheels are starting.
You think Tavares? Yeah, I mean that's not what the odds makers think. At minus 190 to go to decision. Plus those 2 fights. I mean, actually, yeah. When he fights anybody good, Gregory Rodriguez knocks people out. He's a KO guy.
Park almost KO'd Rodriguez.
He went to decision against. I mean, the Bruno Silva one's worse. But he went to decision against Drixus Duplessis, who's who's a fucking champ. So, like, I don't know. It wasn't that long ago. He was going to decision against Dricus. He's been knocked out, though. He got knocked out by Shabazian. So that's what it would take. It would take that knockout, Monk, but in the second round. Like, it would have to happen in the first 2 rounds. I don't even think a 3rd round finish is going to get it done.
I don't actually. Park actually has the best average on the entire card of DraftKings points per win per decision win.
Yeah, he takes these sloppy middleweights down and holds.
But he has been fighting scrubs, Monk. He's been fighting scrubs.
I mean, Tavares is fighting Weidman and losing to Chris Weidman.
I mean, he's got Eric Anders isn't good, but
yeah,
I wouldn't call Anders a scrub. I don't think I'd call Dennis
Holmes is a scrub. Tui Lulin, Durai. I mean, these guys are not good. But yeah, all right, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the Monk side where it's not a great fight to target. If anyone's, which one of these 2 guys do I see breaking the slate? It would be Park with he has success grappling we don't really expect, or the Tavares chin. It's all about the Tavares, kind of decline here. 36 years old, I get isn't super old, but it's getting up there. And the thing is with your eyes, you see a decline. I get that he's fighting savages, and that's what we have to find out here. And Park last time out lost to Andre Muniz, who's not a joke. He's the guy, if you remember, we all saw it a million times. He broke Jacare's arm. So that guy's no joke. It's just good matchmaking. I like the matchup. It sucks for DFS. It sucks it's on this card for salary wise, but I'll lean on the Park side.
Yeah, 9K is rough.
That all being said,
you know what? Salaries don't matter. I forgot. It doesn't matter, Monk.
Yeah.
You're going to see this card. Salaries won't matter.
Well, it doesn't matter at all. They don't matter for this next fight because this fight, let's be very clear, should be in all of your lineups. They'll be in all of mine anyway. You guys can tell me if I'm crazy, but we got Steve Garcia and Sung Woo Choi. Current line on this fight, let's get up to the moment here. Steve Garcia is minus 148 on DraftKings. Choi is plus 124. Your most important number. Fight ends inside the distance, minus 500. Fight ends under 1.5 rounds, minus 185. Steve Garcia is made of violence. It got 3 straight KO wins. Is kill or be killed. That's just who this dude is. Sung Woo Choi went to decision against Jarno Evans last time out. That's more on Evans. And he's been, he got finished by Alex Caceres. He got finished by Michael Trezano. For me, I'm on the Garcia side. But if Garcia doesn't win, it's because he got caught coming in and he got knocked out. And one of these 2 guys is going to score big. For me, Garcia is a GPP core play just based on this card. I think when I watch them fight, I think the line should be actually wider. I'm toying with Garcia as a bet, not because it's not a super volatile fight, because I think he wins 7 times out of 10, and that would mean it's 70% implied in my head. And minus 145, I got some value there. So I like Garcia a bunch. I like the fight a bunch. Geek, how are you approaching this one?
Yeah, this is a fight to load up on. I'm just trying to pull up the inside the distance prop here.
Minus 500.
Yeah, minus 500 ITD. There you go. So, lock it in. Both of these guys, to me, are inconsistent a little bit. Like, you don't really know. I think it's because they just throw hard and they get landed on hard. And so they're either it's kill or be killed, which I love. I'm not as lock button Steve Garcia as I am just this fight is one to load up on. Yes, I am with you though. I favor Garcia a little bit, but like, you know, he's had some disappointments too. It's not like he's this great fighter. I mean, he's got losses that are really hard to let's call it hard to justify. Other than to say he's just all right. Both of these guys are that way. Garcia has more volume though, and I do like that. Neither guy is super likely to go for a takedown, but if anybody can use the takedowns here, it's going to be Garcia, and that could be the difference. Just a statement takedown at the end of the round. Sungwoo Choi, terrible takedown defense, 69%. Would you call that terrible, Monk, or not good? Like I feel like if
a little bit below average, worse than 70.
Like, it's not great, right?
Yeah.
I thought it was about average. What's the UFC average, Monk? I actually thought it was about 70.
Oh God, it's probably about. I think it's probably about that. I think 70. If I see below 70, I'm like below average in my opinion.
Garcia, that doesn't scare me. Like Garcia's at 88%. Not that I mean, actually, it's legit. He fought Chase Hooper. He's fought a lot of guys. He's at 88%. This guy can't be taken down, but he can get a takedown, and I do think that will be the potential difference maker here. He could put a statement on a round, win the round that way if they're both landing. Garcia also a little bit higher volume guy, so I do favor Garcia. I am with you, Sniper, but more importantly, 100% all in fight. You know what's going to happen in this fight? Just like last week, fucked us. The all in fight. What happens? GQ. Really? Guys.
Cody Brundage
before, and they gave us a round one finish, and now this time it's a D. Like, just be consistent.
By the way, Cody Brundage,
get him out of here.
He's done it twice in 3 fights.
Get him out of here.
I mean, enough is enough with that guy. And here I am loading up Abdul Razak Al Hassan, watching him dominate the first 30 seconds. Go, man, I win 100% on this guy, and then. Every lineup had one of the two, and it just ruins the day.
He was going to score 130.
Yeah.
You know what's real fucked up? If that score stands, I win the primary elite level contest on Rainmakers.
See, there it is.
I did the math. I was like, motherfucker, I should have done the math. That was painful. So it's a $7,500 Cody Brundage acting job.
There you go. So you're Rainmakers master over there. So yeah, load up on this fight, guys. I do favor Stevie G as well. I think he's got a little bit of grappling upside compared to Choy. Both guys hit hard, and yeah, this is actually probably the fight I'm most looking forward to watching.
Yep. Did you go for this fight? I don't think so.
I'll be super quick. I couldn't agree more with both of you guys. I love the Garcia side. I think the ceiling is much higher. Look, I mean, in every single one of his longest fight in his last 5 is 6.85 minutes. He's had 2 of them last in the first round, not even into the 3rd minute. Choy has finishes, losses, and wins in 3 of his last 5. I mean, he does go to decision, but I mean, Trezano just absolutely put it on him. That dude scored like 123 on him with 2 knockdowns there. There's no reason Steve Garcia can't land knockdowns. He's got 5 in his last 5 fights, or no, 5 landed on it. So either guy could get knocked out. He's actually got, he does have 5. He's got 5 knockdowns landed on him and 5 knockdowns landed. So play this fight in GPPs for sure. The salaries are awesome.
All right, totally agree. I think we've.
And what was this is minus 140 something, and the Zhenyang Park was minus 160, and this dude's $400 cheaper with a way higher ceiling.
I would really like to keep talking about this fight because now I get to try and figure out Kurt Hala against Kenan Krzyzewski.
By the way, I was just going to say, just pronouncing Kanan's
I think it's
name fairly correctly.
Yeah.
I just say Coach K.
I think it's Krzyzewski. But regardless, we get to deal with this nonsense. Krzyzewski is minus 135 right now. The comeback on Hala is plus 114. So that means we've actually got a little bit of line movement towards Hala, which good luck figuring that shit out. DraftKings salaries for this fight. Krzyzewski, 8,700 for some fucking reason. Kurt Hala, 7,500. Monks, as I'm ranting about salaries, you get to go first.
For some, it's probably because Halabaz has 1 win in 100 years in the UFC. He beat Austin Hubbard. He scored 101 points. That was his comeback fight. I believe it was after however the hell he made it back in.
That was the tough.
That was the house. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So then he loses to Trey Ogden, gives up 107 points to Trey Ogden. That dude scored like 50 and that dude never scores well. Unless he's fighting Kurt Hala. Meanwhile, Kanan Krzyzewski, I mean, look, he lost to Elves Brenner. Brenner's a tough son of a bitch, man. Go back and watch that whatever fight where he started with blonde hair and then it was completely red by this dude wins fights he's not supposed to win all the time. You never,
good win.
Yeah, exactly. I love that kid. So I'm not really putting too much stock into that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Kanan Krzyzewski is at my new favorite gym, the Fighting Nerds. So hopefully we'll see a little turnaround here. Bottom line is I don't trust Hollabaugh. I don't want to pay $8,700 for Krzyzewski, but the numbers here, the rest of these fighters are ridiculous. So I like the upside, the finish upside. I mean, Hollabaugh has been finished recently, actually not recently, but back in like 2018 by Burgos and Barcelos. So I know that's a long time ago, but here he is, 37 years old, almost 38. Give me the younger guy. He is a newcomer, but he has 17 pro fights, Fighting Nerds. Hopefully Elvis Brenner was super tough, and that's why he lost. So yeah, give me Krzyzewski.
I'm only going to add one thing before Geek can take it from here, is that Kurt Hollabaugh's got super concerning takedown defense, and there is a path for a big score with Kanan Krzyzewski. So despite me hating his salary, I'm going with the Geek's train of thought here, and that salary doesn't matter so much on this card. I'm definitely going to have more Kanan here.
Just ignore
I think it's that grappling upside.
Ignore the salaries on this card.
Yeah, nobody's 9,800. You don't have to worry about it. Yeah.
There's live dogs everywhere. Listen, this is minus 180 to end inside the distance. Let's start there. The odds makers like it to end inside the distance as much as any fight on this card, for the most part, outside of the big, minus 500, the big one, right? Like that is a good number, minus 180 for a 3-rounder. And Snipe, you're right. So takedown defense for Hollabaugh, 46%. Kanan has gone for takedowns in all of his UFC or in his UFC fights, or he has a takedown in the UFC fight. I don't know why they're saying average 2. I guess because he's not made it past the first round. So he's got 1 takedown. They're giving him 2 per 15, but he can get a takedown. He has that in his repertoire. Volume similar. I don't know. Kanan doesn't have a notable win. Kurt Hollabaugh really has a lot of not super notable losses. This is one of those ones where I don't really know. Yeah, I agree with you. Hollabaugh has the takedown defense. It kind of looks like Kanan will come in, take him down, and kind of do it that way. But Kanan has nothing about his career, about his profile that tells you that he's UFC level at all, right? He doesn't have a win against anybody who's even known. So it's a mysterious fight. I'm going to go with Kanan for the takedowns, but could I see Hollabaugh winning this one? Sure. And I don't have a strong feeling about it at all.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about, I think, other than, Geek, you said you like Garcia Choy the most to be looking forward to. I'm looking forward to Cody Durden and Bruno Silva getting after it. Line on this fight, pretty much a pick 'em right now. Durden's minus 115. Comeback on Bruno Silva is minus 105.
Fight ends inside the distance.
So fight goes to decisions actually minus 165. But what's interesting about this fight from a DraftKings perspective is both guys want to grapple. Durden forces a high pace. Both guys have been reversed. There should be grappling, reversal, control points. There should be points in this one. It's one of those fights where you can throw away the goes to decision, does not go to decision prop for DFS. And we've seen Durden in these grappler versus grappler matchups, and he's still going to try and grapple. That's the one thing you get. 2 grapplers, they're going to strike. Durden don't play or has not played that way before. So I like this one. I do think Cody Durden's a little better. It's a close fight, but I'm going to have more exposure to the Durden side. How about you, Geek?
Yeah, I love this fight. From a DraftKings perspective, Cody Durden averaging over almost 5 takedowns per 15, which is elite numbers. Monk will expand on that, but that's as good as it gets. Like, you don't really see a lot of guys with this many fights that are averaging 5 takedowns per 15 or more. Both of these guys will go for takedowns. We've seen this is a different Bruno Silva. Whenever I see the name Bruno Silva, I think of there's 2 of them. This is the little guy. But his takedown defense not great at 64%. He will go for a takedown as well. So what you said, lots of grappling back and forth. should be expected. I'm a Cody Durden guy. I like Cody Durden. You know, he's been a great DraftKings scorer for me throughout the years. I don't even have it open in front of me, but I just know whenever I see Cody on a card, I'm like, yep. You know, not quite Marab level, lock that guy in, but he's one of those guys that when you see he's on the card, you want to play him. Monk, I'm sure you'll expand, but he's probably been a really, really good DraftKings scorer throughout his career, and that's what I'm looking for. So, yeah, is Bruno Silva live? Sure. Can he get a win? Yeah, I'm sure. Of course he can. He hits hard, and he could be the better grappler. They're even odds exactly, but I'm going to favor on the sportsbook. They're even odds, but I'm going to favor Durden as well. I'm with you, Sniper, on that. But I love its fight. You have to have exposure to it.
Yeah, I think I agree for sure. I'm gonna have a lot of exposure to it. The salaries aren't bad, 8,300 and 7,900. Yeah, same thing. When I see Bruno Silva, I'm like, wait a minute, which one? Both guys lost to Tajir Ulanbekov, but before that, Durden is on quite a streak. Granted, he's beaten like JP Bays and Mota, but then the Charles Johnson win is aging ever so well. Jake Hadley beat him as well. Bruno Silva coming off 3 straight, also a win over JP. Victor Rodriguez, Tyson Nam. So the name's not quite as good, but we're not talking about, you know, the best of the flyweight division. The only number that stands out, so both these guys score extremely well, as you mentioned, Geek. Cody is specifically 4.3 points per minute, 4.57 inside the distance. Bruno Silva, 4.27 inside the distance. So both guys scoring over 100 per win. Cody's at 101. Bruno's at 117. The big difference, though, is the points they allow per loss. Bruno Silva allowing under 80 per loss on average, while Durden allowing 112.81. So maybe
Fewer
just
losses,
something to think about.
Just keep in mind, that's because like fewer losses and the one time he just got wiped out. So
Sure.
He's been finished. Like in his losses, he's been finished in round 1, which is what leads to that. It hasn't been like he's just a punching bag. He just has been finished in round 1 twice out of the last 3 losses. He lost.
Yep.
He has the distinction. I almost think this is unforgivable of a loss to Jimmy Flick. He was that guy that got submitted in round 1 by Jimmy Flick. That's him.
Yep.
That's the guy.
Yeah. So I'm just going to play this one. Both of them land a bunch of takedowns per 15, 4.8 and 2.5. Those are very far numbers apart, but still 2 of the best on the card, and both have subpar takedown defense. So yeah, I'm playing this one. I'll be a little higher on Silva than maybe I heard you guys talk about, but I'm loving both sides.
Yeah, and just to be clear, while I do favor Durden, it's not like a huge. I did not bet this, even though it's even odds. Like I don't even favor him enough. To pull the trigger on a bet. So because Cody Durden's just not reliable, can't rely on this guy.
All right, let's move on and let's talk about. I'm going to scroll down a little here. It's Choy and Bill Algio. Monk, I know you are the nickname guy. It's Korean Superboy versus Senor Perfecto. It's a pretty solid matchup right there.
Real solid. Yeah, I'm going to give it to Senor Perfecto, but it's solid.
All right, we got Senor Perfecto. Bill Algio's minus 170 to come back on Duho Choy is plus 142 right now. Your excuse me. It's cold. DraftKings salaries for this one. Algio's 8,900. Choy is 7,300. I don't think this is a really good DraftKings fight to target, especially when you're looking at fight goes to decision at minus 165, and neither one of these guys seem excited to grapple. So, Monk, how are we approaching this one?
I'm favoring the Algio side here. I mean, I don't like the price tag at 89. I wish he was like 87, 85, something like that, but I am liking the Algio side. His strikes per, I mean, I consider him more of a grappler, but he's landing 7.5, 7.3, 9.6, 5.4, and 4 strikes per minute over his last 5 fights. Duho Choy, I also like. He did have that huge break. He's only fought once since his military service. Took that draw with Kyle Nelson, which before Nelson beat Algio, I would have considered that not a great draw, but I give it a little bit more credence now. You can't really tell though, because the only losses Choy has are minimum 5 years ago almost. He lost to Jourdain. He gave up 118. He gave up 110 to Jeremy Stevens. See, this is how long ago that was, Jeremy Stevens. And then 96 to Cub Swanson. So 5 years ago, he was giving up a ton of points when he loses. Algio definitely has the volume, definitely has the grappling. Choy did give up 5 takedowns and 37% control time to Kyle Nelson. So that is a bit worrisome there. So that's kind of why I favor Algio, but I will have some of Choy. I think his salary is definitely playable at 7,300 for sure.
Freaking
Gee, where you going with it?
Korean Superboy, man.
Yeah.
You know, what a hype train this guy came into the UFC with. And they actually just like, oh, he's this big name. And they give him good fighters when he in his first run, and he did not do well in that run. Like, you know, he's losing to Cub and Jeremy Stevens. You know, those were good fighters at especially the years where that was happening, 2016 and 2018, still in their prime.
Yeah.
He just, where are the wins? Where are the wins? I don't know. You know, Superboy, Korean Superboy, he's got the name, he's got the brand. I don't know if he's any good. He hasn't done anything that's impressive. So yeah, it's kind of a weird situation. And yeah, I'm going with Bill Algio here as well. Could he go for a takedown and dominate? Algio's he's just all volume. He's just a lunatic out there. If he's throwing punches, they're coming in over 6 strikes per minute, heavy volume. He can do it with the grappling as well on occasion. So yeah, I'm going to favor Algio here. I'm not sure that Choy ever really lived up to the hype. And I don't know. He did his military service. He's out. He's training. Maybe he's getting better now. Maybe he's improving. But he's also 33, and you don't really see guys take such leaps this late in life. So yeah, I'm trying to look for how frequently Algio gets a takedown in his fights, and he usually gets one or two, especially when he's up against someone who isn't a grappler.
And more importantly, at 54% accuracy. That's crazy high.
Yeah, very high, and obviously Choi's takedown defense, not very good. He was taken down 5 times in his last fight, and he was taken down. It's hard to judge anything before that, really. So, you know, but Kyle Nelson took him down 5 times, so he can't be that good.
He is a Hall of Famer, you know.
Choy?
Yeah. The fight against Cub Swanson's in the fight wing.
Is that the fight? Like, where did he get his hype from? I still don't understand.
It's the Cub Swanson fight.
It was just
Swanson,
that, like, he fought a
bananas.
great fight against Cub, and so they were like, "This guy is great." I guess that was when Cub was in his prime, but even like now, he lost to Cub.
Cub's old,
Like,
yeah.
like, dude, you lost. Like,
that's where the hype comes from.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of hype, it's a really good segue to 2 guys with lots of wins, not a lot of losses here. Hyder Amil is 9-0, taking on Jung Young Lee, who is 11-1 right now. Your odds for this fight, Jung Young Lee is the favorite at -200. Hyder Amil is the dog at +160. Your DraftKings odds for this one, Lee is 9,100. Hyder Amil is 7,100. I got a take on this one, guys. You want me to go first or last?
Yeah, go ahead. Well, you got a strong take. Let us hear it.
I think this line should be flipped. I think Hyder Amil is the better prospect. Hyder Amil, I bet him already at whatever that number was, plus
Interesting.
170. I think I got somewhere in that range. Not that Jung Young Lee is bad, but just start digging into. You know, he got a decision win against Blake Builder, split decision win on the road to UFC against Yi Jia. You know, and then he's knocking out really scrubs from that promotion. Whereas on the other side, Ferdy Garcia, I'm not going to say he's not a scrub, but I think he's better than the guys Jung Young Lee is fighting. You know, coming from Contender Series, Trump's road to UFC, in my mind. He's got wins over Chase Gibson. Like, he's just a more put together prospect for me. I think he's actually a little bit better everywhere. I see too many holes in Lee's game to where he should be -200 against anybody in the UFC. I just don't think we're there yet. And Amil's a good young prospect. I'm taking the shots on Hyder Amil. I know salary doesn't matter on this card, but 9,100, 7,100, I got to make some choices somewhere. This is at the extreme where Hyder Amil opens up a lot of stuff, and I think he's actually a little better. Now watch him get slept in 60 seconds, because the problem is, just like we talked about in the last fight, these are the ages. So the one concern I have in my pick, just laying it all out, is Lee is 28. It's where guys are improving. Hyder Amil's an old prospect at 34. Little concerned there, but the odds were too good for me to pass up. Geek, I think you're first for this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go against that. This is a really close fight to me. You're right, lined a little bit wide, considering it's hard to distinguish between these two fighters. statistically, they're kind of similar. Amil, more volume so far throughout his short career, compared to Lee. Lee's only landing 3 strikes per minute. Again, a lot of those fights were those weird road to UFC fights, but he's not landing a ton of volume. There's no real takedowns going on here or grappling of note. So I like your idea of going with the underdog here and just kind of favoring that. I think it's important to note, I guess, that it's minus 160 to inside the distance, but neither guy, again, does all that much to score well. So like, or thus far in their career, but I'll go with I like the higher volume in Amil. As good a reason as any to favor him. I came in here kind of favoring Lee a little bit, but I don't have a strong take on this one.
Monkey, got anything strong?
I agree with you completely. I'm on the Amil side. In fact, I don't think I think if you play Lee, you're only playing him for a pivot or to be contrary. And you look at this guy's stats, they're crazy bad. In his 2, I'm not counting the road to UFC, so just the 2 UFC fights he's had, he's landed, how many is that? 74 in 30 minutes, 74 strikes in 30 minutes. Hyder Amil landed 79 in 7 minutes. I know Fernie Garcia is the definition of hittable, but Jesus Christ, man, Lee scored 72 points in his win against Builder. He scored less than 50 against Jia Yi in his 15-minute win. That is doing absolutely nothing. And now you expect me to pay 9,100. I guess I'll have a little bit because the inside the distance line, and this is super low level, high variance. But man, I mean, in what world am I going to have a crazy amount of Lee with these stats? Like, I just don't see it outside of me being shocked by a first round KO. I don't see how he pays that off in any type of way. So give me Hyder Amil, who actually scored fantastically in his one and only UFC fight. Second round KO, 131 points, 11 strikes a minute, a knockdown, a takedown, and 32% control time. This is like a 5-tool player, as they say in baseball. So I love the Hyder Amil side here, and I get him for 7,100. Yeah.
Like it. Clearly, let's move on. We'll talk about Brian Boom Kelleher taking on Cody Gibson. Line on this fight, you got Gibson installed as a minus 205 favorite. Oh, God. Taking on, I knew it. I still was painful to say it. That makes Kelleher a plus 170 dog. Fight goes to decision. Actually, sorry. Fight ends inside the distance. Is at minus 160 right now. This is one I had a hard time with. Giga, I'll let you start for it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but Cody Gibson, in what world is this guy minus 200? Like, he should not be favored against the UFC veteran with real UFC wins. Why? Because he's done none of that. Cody Gibson has done
nothing. I'm sorry. I missed the most important part of this fight. Gibson is the most expensive fighter on the card at 9,300.
This is
Kelleher 6,900.
This is one of the fights where I'm like, salaries don't matter, but not because of the favorite, because of the underdog, right? So Brian Kelleher, I get it. He's had a tough run, but let's look at what this tough run actually was. He lost to Cody Garbrandt, Mario Batista, and Umar Nurmagomedov. Those 3 fighters will destroy Cody Gibson. Like, are we serious? Who's not losing to Umar Nurmagomedov or Cody Garbrandt? If you can't knock out Cody, he's a good fighter. Even Mario Batista, good fighter. So Mario Batista, good fighter, just beat Ricky Small. My point is Kelleher. So when you look at this as a bettor, Kelleher is undervalued because he's lost 3 in a row to actually elite opponents, whereas Gibson is coming off he has no wins. I don't really even get it because Gibson has no wins of note at all, ever. He's just as old as Kelleher. He's 36. The guy's record is terrible, 19-10. He loves to lose fights. When you have 10 losses, you're very comfortable losing fights. I think Kelleher is going to win this fight. I think he shouldn't be the underdog. I think it's, this is just a weird fight in terms of who the favorite is, and I don't buy it. I think it's a overreaction to Kelleher's losses to elite opponents. He's had wins against decent opponents in his career. Gibson has not done that. They're the same age. So I'm going to assume that Kelleher is not shot and that he can win this fight. It's that simple.
Yeah, Monk, what do you got?
Yeah, I'll start off. This fight is a shit show. But I am playing both sides because I don't trust Brian Kelleher. And you know who's more comfortable losing fights than someone with 10 losses? Someone with 15 losses. That's
He
who's
does,
more
he
comfortable.
is comfortable losing fights.
And he's not like beating. He beat Kevin Kroom, Domingo Pilarte, Ray Rodriguez, Hunter Azure, Henan Barao in 2018. Like he's not beating anybody. Like
the Henan Barao, you know, it didn't age well, but that was good at the time.
Well, that was after his complete fall off of a cliff with the Dillashaw and the losing the title, and he just completely fell off that cliff. So yes, Kelleher's losing to good guys, but he ain't beating anybody, and I don't trust him. That said, I don't trust Gibson either, but he's not 9,800. He's 9,300. It's not crazy. Yes, he has 4 losses in a row, so I hate that. I'm not out here. Don't get me wrong. I'm not out here saying play Cody Gibson. You guys are dumb for not. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying play both sides. Neither guy should be trusted. I will have some of the 6,900 Kelleher in there, but I certainly don't trust him like whatsoever. Cody Gibson could easily touch this dude's chin. I know he doesn't ever really do that since Johnny Bedford back in 2014 KO'd him in under 1 minute. So do we see a repeat of that? Not likely, but I don't think it's the worst idea ever. I mean, 9K, the 9K range is rough this week for sure. So I don't mind it. It's not my favorite. I'm probably picking Gibson to win, but I ain't touching this in cash.
I'm just going to add one more thing to this one. Cody Gibson's like the second or third biggest favorite on this card. And we'll talk about an unsafe button click at over 9K.
Yeah,
None of these 9K fighters are a safe win. I'm telling you this. Do not count on wins from these guys. He could totally lose this fight. I could see it. I'm picking him to lose.
I think Maverick wins, but we can talk about that in a little bit.
That's the next one, so we'll talk about it.
The problem with this fight is you cannot fade Cody Gibson because Brian Kelleher, yes, he's faced Savages. He keeps getting fucking finished. He keeps getting finished.
Savages, though. Is that going to happen again? It's gonna happen again.
Terrible habit to be in as a 37-year-old bantamweight or where the fuck he is.
Plus, he's fighting these guys because they want those guys to get a win. Cody Garbrandt fought him so Cody could get a win.
Yeah, but Gibson, they don't care if Gibson.
Right.
I mean, no one gives a shit about Gibson getting a win.
This is good matchmaking because loser gets cut.
Exactly. They're probably just Kelleher's probably fighting out his career or his contract on this.
The most entertaining part of this fight is that Kelleher's out of Long Island MMA, so maybe we get Ray Longo.
That's a win.
That's the only entertaining part of this fight.
You can get Matt Serra out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Play both sides in GPPs, despite the price. That's the point I want to reiterate. Agree with everything you guys said. Just do not fade.
I feel like Kelleher might be like in your town. You go a little BJJ training. Kelleher is just at the
oddly enough, he's from Selden, New York. That is where after I left for college, family moved to.
There it is.
So I never lived there, but family ended up there.
That's personal information that you should not have shared on this podcast.
Oh, I don't live there now, and I never lived there to start with. So fuck it. And that place is a fucking shithole. So move on. Moving on. I live in a much nicer part of Long Island now. Let's move on to Miranda Maverick taking on Dione Barbosa. And we get to talk about this one because Geek says the Maverick sucks. The line says that Maverick is minus 225. The comeback on Barbosa is plus 185. With this, for me, Geek, with this, oh wait, I should do salaries here. Maverick is 9,200. Barbosa is 7,000. We just saw Dione Barbosa gas the fuck out and hold on for dear life against Ernesta Caracate. And Miranda Maverick is going to push the grappling. You think you're tired in a striking match against Ernesta Caracate? I think Maverick is going to wear this bitch out. For me, I think Maverick is, if there's anybody you're going to pay up for, I do think it is Miranda Maverick. She wants to wrestle. I think she's stronger. I think she's better. She got better cardio. Now, it's a little bit of kind of rose-colored glasses because the rest of this range is so bad. but I do like Miranda Maverick here. You got the grappling upside. I think people are going to, interestingly enough, the kind of semi-casual DraftKings MMA players are going to be like, oh, cheap women's MMA dog. They come through. That's the move these days. And for me on this card, that's like the least. I would rather play. So you got Barbosa down here. I'd rather play Kelleher. I'd obviously rather play Amil. I'd rather probably play Brad Tavares and Duho Choy. Like, I don't know who I'm playing Barbosa over. She's like, you know who I would play Barbosa over? I play her over Thomas Peterson, who we're going to talk about soon, because that motherfucker sucks. So I'm left with Maverick, probably an uncomfortable amount of Miranda Maverick. Monk, I'm actually curious. What do the stats say about our girl Maverick?
I mean, she does well when she fights garbage opponents. She scored
here we are.
Right, 110 against Mezo, 118 against Young, 104 against Cachoeira, and that was with the third round sub. So she had tons of control time there, still landing under 3 strikes a minute, but she still scored a good amount of points. That could get it done this week at 9,200. You definitely want to be in the triple digits. She only put up 85 against Andrea Lee, but Andrea Lee is the type of fighter that's definitely not easy to get rid of most of the time. So I don't trust Diony Barbosa. Less than 10 fights, just like you said, completely gassed out. I mean, 2.6 strikes a minute. She landed 2 takedowns, 25% control time. Nothing jumping off the page there. In fact, if you go by the stats, she actually, take the refs out, the 3-round scoring. She actually lost that fight according to the stats, just barely, but still, it was extremely close. I like Maverick here. I don't want to pay 9,200, but like Sniper said, the rest of the people around her, I don't really have a problem with it. And when I see that she does well against questionable opponents, that's what we're looking at right here.
Here's what I'm going to say about Maverick. Yes, she can push some offensive grappling, but she's terrible when her opponent has grappling. That's where she falls apart. Her takedown defense has not been good throughout her career. I'm going to pull up the number here, but she's at 40% takedown defense. And Diony Barbosa wants to go for takedowns. And there's a recipe here. I think there's a path for Barbosa to win the fight. And I saw Andrea Lee kind of look really good, especially in the second and third rounds of their fight. A couple of fights ago, Andrea Lee was taking her down. I think Diony Barbosa could take down Miranda Maverick. So we'll have to see an improved version of Barbosa, obviously, with the gas tank stuff. But as far as just a general live underdog, I say Diony Barbosa, live underdog, gets takedowns, could win this fight. Miranda Maverick is just, I think she's hyped, and I think she's less good than what the odds makers think, less good than what people think. I think she's overrated. And I bet Lee against her, and I thought I won that bet.
Because we're going to find out. Let's move on to...
I might bet on Diony Barbosa here, too. I might take a stab.
Good luck. Let's talk Loic Radzhabov taking on Trey Ogden. Your current line on this fight, Radzhabov minus 118, Ogden minus 102. So that means we got some movement on the Ogden side, which God bless anybody betting on Trey Ogden. You are a braver man than I. Not that Loic's anything special. This fight is minus 200 to go to decision. I feel like we should have plenty of stats on them, Monk. How do these two guys shape up here?
Plenty of fights.
Yeah, Loic, I mean, he's got 3 UFC fights. He beat Esteban Ribovic, which I am very impressed with. I really, really like Ribovic. I think that was probably his debut as well. Did take an L against Rubeschki, who seems to look, decent at least. And then took a win against Abdul Karim Al-Sawadi, which he scored 96 points there. So when he is winning, he's putting up okay scores. I mean, he did land 11 takedowns against Ribovic, 4 against Sawadi, so you know exactly what he wants to do. Meanwhile, Trey Ogden, I don't mind him this week. He put up 117 against Hala, but before that, he hasn't scored well. And unfortunately, it's an extremely small sample size. He's denied 3 takedowns, so he does have a 100% takedown defense, but it's really going to be put to the test this week against Radzhabov. Obviously, I want to play Loic because of his takedown upside, scoring millions of points that way, even in 3-round decision, as he did against Ribovic, 120 points there in his debut. couldn't ask for more. So yeah, I am interested in to see if Ogden can defend the takedowns from Radzhabov. If he can, then I think this is probably going to be a pretty shitty fight for DraftKings. If he can't, I think Loic has a chance to score. So while I do kind of like Trey Ogden, I don't really like him for DraftKings. I will be on the side of the Tajik tank this week.
Do you get about for you?
Do we think one of these guys is a better striker? Like, Loic Radzhabov, just when you watch him, he's just one of these typical Russian goons who just wings overhand rights on the way to. He's very stiff, goes for takedowns, a wrestler. We got Trey Ogden, like you said, Monk, showing 100% takedown defense. Is that real? Can he?
No, it's only 3 attempts. It's only 3 takedowns.
How much do we have to respect that number? And I think that's really what this fight's probably going to come down to. I don't think Loic Radzhabov is any sort of person you want to trust. He when you see him in there, he reminds you of 30 other fighters that come out looking just like that. Goon, stiff, throwing those overhand rights and lefts, just like winging bombs all the time and then going for the takedowns. So can he get it done? I mean, I still have nightmares of Mateusz or Rebecki just dominating this guy during the MMA Live Championships in Jacksonville back in this time last year. It was a nightmare watching it as I had picked Loic. Now I hate him.
Yeah.
But in this fight, I don't know. Yeah, I kind of am leaning his way. I mean, he'll need to get the takedowns. This is ugly. It's ugly.
Yeah, I'm on the Radzhabov side, actually. I think a little bit stronger take than you guys. And I would argue, regardless, I think he's clearly the better at DFS play, because if either one's going to grapple, it's Radzhabov. If either one's going to get a knockout, it's Radzhabov. Like, how does Ogden score well? I don't see many passes where he does score.
He lands takedowns and control, which ain't going to happen against
leg
Radzhabov.
Kicks? I mean, Rebecki, the way he destroyed Radzhabov was with the leg kicks. He destroyed his legs within 2 minutes of the first round, and it was already over. So if Trey Ogden has a nasty ankle kick, then that would be his path. But I don't think he does.
So I like the Tajik tank here. Not an all-in fight, but he's probably the medium exposure for me, and I'll probably be underweight on Trey Ogden. I don't see many passes where he scores well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about this weird fight. This fight is honestly the one that gave me the most trouble on this card, trying to break down.
Interesting.
I looked at it for like 10 minutes going, I don't know what the fuck is going to happen here. It's Luana Dread Carolina taking on Lucy Pudilova. Line on this fight as of right now. I'd like to get refresh my fight odds here. Minus 115 for Carolina, minus 105 for Pudilova. Pretty much a dead pick 'em either way. Regardless, you got minus 350 to go to decision. So while I did say it's hard for me to break down, it's also in the pick a winner. It's one of the first one I threw up in the dumpster for DFS. I went, no thanks, bye. No one's really going to grapple. Pudilova could. They both could, but I don't think they're gonna. Nobody scores well. I lean towards Pudilova because I think she's a little better in the clinch and, has got nasty elbows. And we saw Carolina's the one who got devastatingly knocked out by Meatball with the elbow. So elbow for elbow, I'll take Pudilova. But that's all the analysis they got behind it. Fuck this fight for DFS. Geek, you can go first for this one.
Yeah, I'm going the other way. I like Luana here.
Sure. Don't care.
I like Luana here just to win the fight. I think she just gets disrespected a lot. I backed her as an underdog a bunch of times, and she's come through. She's come through as an underdog. Puds is basically just a straight striker. That's what Luana generally wants. Like usually in these fights, it's Luana wants to strike, and the opponent wants to take her down. But in this case, she's got an opponent who wants to stand and bang with her. Respect to Czech Republic. That's my I love fighters from the Czech Republic, Puds from there, but our guy Yuri's from Czech Republic. So, shout out to that. But I think Luana Carolina might get a takedown here even. She started using that part of her game a little bit last couple fights. So if anything, I think Luana is more likely to go for the takedowns and get a win a round like that. This is definitely kind of fight where I think probably split decision is super likely, but I'm going to lean Luana here. She's got a little bit more volume just traditionally than Puds. Luana, I think, has averaged, oh man, I should have had that open. Yeah, she's almost 5 strikes per minute, where Puds is 4.5. She's Puds is at 3.5. Luana is at 4.5, almost 5. So I'm going with the volume and the potential for a takedown with Luana.
Yeah, I probably agree. I'm on the Luana side. Look, Lucy Pudova is 1-4 in her last 5. Technically, she should be 2-3 because you cannot convince me that she lost that Jocelyn Edwards fight. I will not hear otherwise. But even so, not great. Carolina has kind of turned it around. Ivana Petrovic, Julia Stoliarenko, not the best competition,
and a win against Loopy. This girl has
and
real
win
wins
against Loopy for exactly. Yeah, so
that
I
one
like
killed
Luana.
me, by the way, on the Loopy side. I was all in on
Oh,
Loopy,
yeah.
and that was terrible. It was a nightmare. That was horrible.
Yeah,
I think Loopy was like minus
takedowns
400
in that one. Oh,
Yeah.
wait, that's what I was going to say. Carolina, if you're betting on this fight, which you should not do, don't bet Carolina now. This is the first time in her entire UFC career that she has been minus money. 8 fights in a row, she's been plus money. So if you've missed out, you missed out. So don't start now. That would be my advice. I don't trust it at all. I do lean Carolina, not interested in DraftKings.
Wait, Monk, you're saying I shouldn't buy NVIDIA stock now?
Yeah, no.
Right.
Yeah, no. I mean, you should have done it right before COVID.
I should have gotten it at 200, not at 1200.
Yeah.
You had to bring up the Pudova Edwards fight. Do you not remember? I was full tilt mode in chat because I think that was a rare. I was a 3-unit bet and I was convinced I had won.
Did you have
nothing worse than
Pudova?
you won?
Yeah.
The live odds are like minus 400, and then it goes the other way, and you're like,
that was
hedge that shit.
No,
That was
I didn't
wild.
just I
You should have won that shit.
drink a few and get really funny in chat.
Yeah.
So another reason to join DFS Army. Go on, some good tilt in there.
Guys, if you want to be in the chat with us, hanging out, talking with Sniper, Monk, myself, and Vince, and Gino, and the whole, and Eric, the whole MMA crew, and of course, the whole rest of the crew too, make sure to get signed up to DFS Army. Promo code Sniper.
go
Monk.
do that shit. The link is
10%
down below.
We're right ahead of football season, by the way. There's no better time to get set up as a VIP at DFS Army than right now. Football season around the corner. We cover the preseason quite a bit, but the biggest thing that we do in DFS Army in the month of August, and I hope everybody's around for this, is we're going to do back test season where we just train on how to use the optimizer to attack the various contest types for NFL. I'm talking not just full slates, but afternoon, morning, your shorter slates, showdowns. We're going to be doing back testing the entire. It's one of the cool features of the Domination Station Optimizer. It's the only one that I know of that you could just go back and rerun old slates with the benefit of hindsight. You've got the fantasy, the final points, you've got the projections in there, so you could really run it and see what settings did I need in order to win this tournament. What did I need to do? What am I doing wrong in my approach? Improve your game. That's what we're about at DFS Army. We do that for MMA as well. Everything you want, all in one spot, dfsarmy.com. Get signed up.
Listen to Geek. Go and do that shit. And then we're going to talk about Muhammad Usman taking on Thomas Peterson. First fight of the night, last fight of the podcast. Line on this fight. Muhammad, yes, the brother of Kamaru Usman, is minus 130. The comeback on Peterson is plus 110 right now. Big ol' heavyweights.
What's
Fight
the inside
goes-
the distance prop on
goes-
this one, Sniper?
Fight goes to decision minus 190. So take out the heavyweight thing.
No. Yeah, fight goes. That is terrible. For heavyweights, minus
Awful.
190?
It's awful. Here's the thing. Oh, DraftKings salaries for this one. I've not gone first in the last few fights. I'm going to go first for this one. Usman's 8,800. Peterson is 7,400. Look, everyone's going to tell you Muhammad Usman is not good. And you know what? They're not wrong. He lost to Mick Parkin, who I didn't think isn't terrible at, last time. He beat Jake Collier, beat Junior Taffa, beat Zach Bauga, whereas Thomas Peterson lost to Jamal Pogues. That is among the worst losses on the roster. Jamal Pogues sucks. The UFC know exactly what they're doing. They're trying to get Usman another win. The time will come to fade Kamaru Usman. This, to me, just isn't it. And I think he's actually got sneaky upside here because the problem with Usman, and why I can't recommend heavy exposure to the fight, is while I think he's better on the feet, doesn't throw any volume, though, and he'll score real shitty. But if he wanted to and could trust his gas tank enough, he could wrestle Thomas Peterson and put up a big number. Is he going to? Probably not. but I think the path is there. I'm more confident in Usman winning than I am of him scoring well. But when I watch the Thomas Peterson tape, I am not impressed. So give me Muhammad Usman in this one. Monk, what do our stats say for the guy I just spent 5 minutes trashing?
Well, the stats say he shouldn't have lost that fight. He basically outpointed Pogues overall. I'm saying if you take the round by round out, obviously that's a much different conversation. But the striking was basically even. I mean, Pogues landed 7 more strikes. Peterson landed a takedown. Peterson had almost 20% control time. And he scored 44, almost 45 points in that loss. So I don't think it's quite as dire as you're saying. And I also don't think Usman is good. Like, why would they want to try to give him a win? Because heavyweight is so fucking terrible. Like, I don't get it. I think this is super low variance or super high variance, super low level. Usman's going to score like shit unless he gets a first round knockout. And in fact, like I said earlier, the only times he has wrestled or landed takedowns are the 2 lowest scoring fights of his young UFC career. So, I mean, he hasn't beat anybody that actually matters. Yeah, I think these guys are relatively even for the most part. So I think Peterson's a decent punt play this week. And now you're paying $8,800 for Muhammad Usman. Just let that register for a second.
He's so inactive, so low skilled.
Yep.
What's to like about Mo? Really nothing. And for a heavyweight fight to be minus 190 to go the distance, that's actually embarrassing. That's embarrassing. If you're these two guys, for a fight that involves Thomas Peterson to be minus 190, every other heavyweight, like out this side of freaking what's his name, Arlovsky, who can't finish anybody. Every other heavyweight would be like minus 120 to finish this inside the distance against Thomas Peterson. It's crazy. So I don't really think you need to target this fight at all on this card. I think it's heavyweight. They're slow. They don't throw a lot of volume, and they literally cannot score well unless something crazy is going on. Like all of a sudden, even Peterson's not taking down Usman. I don't see that. So this one's gross. I'll go with your pick, Sniper. I don't have a strong take on it other than to say this fight just does not interest me at all on DraftKings. No, I'm not paying the 8,800 either. Not that salaries matter that much with some of the salary relief on some of these close fights, but Mo Usman just doesn't do anything that scores well, and he has no finishing power.
No, and don't say Zach Pounga because that dude's not a real fighter.
All right, let's go talk about kill shots that bring up. There we go. There's the right button I was looking for. Kill shot, if you're not familiar with, under own play to help you win a GPP. We don't want chalk. We want something sneaky. Typically, we want dogs, although this week, I don't even know. Let's try to do dogs this week, but it's who you go on overweight on, at least your most different take. For me, I'll lead off this week because it's pretty obvious.
We know you're going here.
Hyder Amil is my boy. That's where I'll take my shots this week. Anybody else got another one queued up?
Yeah, I'm going to go with someone who's going to be low owned. A true kill shot. And that's Deone Barbosa. Coming through when everybody plays Miranda because she's the only safe pay up option on the entire card. Everybody's going to click that button. Miranda, takedowns. We love her. Deone comes in. She's like, fuck that. Andrea Lee could take you down. I could take you down. And she's going to do it. She's get a bunch of takedowns and offensive grapple her way to a win and take down the tournament for me. Let's go.
Monk, if you take Brian Kelleher, we've taken the 3 cheapest fighters on the card.
No, I refuse to take Brian Kelleher. I'm trying to keep it under 7,700. And if you don't let me pick Hyder Amil, that literally leaves me with not much because I'm not taking Kelleher. So yeah, I guess I'm forced into picking the Boy Scout from the movie Up. I will take Thomas the Train Peterson at 7,400. Talk about low owned.
Gross.
That boy's going to be low owned.
Fucking gross.
I would have went with
Who else?
Kelleher. I think Kelleher was
Kelleher
was the pick there.
No. That's why I didn't pick him. It's too obvious.
Too obvious?
Gross.
What about Duhu Choy? That
No. I think Algio's got him handled. Kurt Hollabach can't do it. Sungwoo Choi can't do it. Brad Tavares sure as shit can't do it.
Sungwoo Choi, that fight's just going to be wild. I like Garcia. That fight's just going to be mayhem. That one's almost too chalky to take as a kill shot.
That might not. Yeah, that might be inappropriate. That's why I think Dione is the true kill shot.
Dione's going to be higher owned than Thomas Peterson.
Let's throw some props out where they belong. By the way, a couple things I want to mention here. First of all, again, our boy Vince has been destroying kill shots, heavy underdogs week after week, like the last 3-4 weeks in a row. We had Gino come through with a long shot kill shot last week too. I can't remember who they were, but last week's kill shot, who was it for Vince that he went all in on?
I can go pull it up. Let's see here.
It was like if that kill shot, I think it was.
Oh no, it's the same as me though. Where am I?
You nailed it too. You nailed it.
Both had Julian Rosa. We were all like, "Why the fuck?" I cashed Juicy J. That was a bet.
Yeah.
That didn't make any sense.
That kill shot was so good that and yours too on the show, Juicy J on the show, that if it wasn't for Al Hassan's fight getting canceled, which I was 100% all in on, I still made money on the card. That's how crazy that was. I had 0 in every single lineup, and I still made money on the card because of that kill shot. That's how that went. So shout out to the DFS Army. I also nailed my 2 bets that I gave out here last week, but I don't have those kind of bets here this week. This card's crazy. Difficult to. I'm not ready. I'm not ready yet. Maybe in the DFS Army or Sharp Discord, I'll pop some bets in tomorrow. But I'm still not solid on anything. You guys, any bets for this card before we roll?
Yeah, I had. Let's see. Let me go pull up. I bet. Let's
Durden
see.
by decision is plus 1,400.
Really?
Yeah, there you go. That's mine.
Yeah, okay.
I gotta look. I bet. It looks like I had early action on Hyder Amil. I put action on.
Yeah, you got to. If you're that heavy on Hyder, you got to bet him.
Yeah, I bet Hyder. I bet Loic Radzhabov for much less. I just took a stab. I took a stab at Loic, and I took a stab at Krzyzewski.
I might take a shot on Kelleher.
I don't really despise it. I almost early in the week, I've talked myself out of it. I'm not going to do it, but early in the week, I was much stronger lean on Virna.
On who?
On Jandiroba in the main event.
Oh, Virna, yeah.
She's going to get on top of her, and how does Amanda not get submitted?
I think if you want to bet that fight, what you should do is bet Virna pre-fight, and then when she dominates the first 2 rounds, I want you to hedge it with Lemos somewhere in round 2 when you start to see Virna, if and when you start to see her looking a little tired, can't get that next takedown, boom, get that hedge in there, get that plus 400 on Lemos, lock in the money, can't lose, and then see what happens.
Yeah, you can try and get real cute and go both Lemos by KO and Virna by submission are hovering around like plus 250. You can try and get cute there.
I'm not either. I don't mind it. All right, tough.
All right, that's what we got, guys, for UFC Vegas 94. Jandiroba Lemos going at it. We'll be back next week. If you didn't already, click the like button, share with your friends. We are out of here. Good luck in those contests. We'll see you next time.